There is a piece of paper, a single document sitting in a drawer somewhere inside the Golden State Warriors front office, and on that piece of paper is a name, a signature, or the absence of one, because the entire civil war that is about to consume this franchise, the one I'm going to walk you through right now, comes down to one question. Who knew when the Warriors quietly tried to trade Draymond Green at the deadline, when they put the heart and soul of 4 championships on the open market like a used car, somebody in that building signed off on it, somebody gave the green light, and the man whose name is on that document is not who you think it is, but I am getting ahead of myself. Because to understand why this is the most explosive thing to happen to the Warriors dynasty since it began, you have to understand what just got said out loud, and once it was said, there was no taking it back. Let me start with the truth that the Warriors have spent months trying to hide. Draymond Green, the emotional engine of this entire dynasty, the 4-time All-Star, the defensive genius who made everything work, he was on the trade block, not in theory, not as a rumor, for real. Back at the trade deadline, as Golden State went shopping for ways to fix a roster that was running out of time, Draymond's name came up in conversations. He was no longer untouchable. The franchise that he bled for, the franchise he won 4 titles with, the franchise he gave his entire prime to. That franchise looked at him and saw a contract, a movable asset, a problem to solve, and here's the part that turns this from a business decision into a personal wound. Mike Dunleavy, the general manager, later went out and denied it. He stood in front of everyone and said Draymond was part of the plan, part of the future, never going anywhere. But Draymond already knew, he had already been told, the damage was already done, and Steve Kerr knew, and Stephen Curry knew. Everyone in that inner circle knew that the unbreakable bond at the center of this dynasty had a crack in it that nobody wanted to talk about. Now, fast forward to where we are right now, this offseason, the most pivotal summer in the recent history of this franchise. Draymond Green has a player option, $27.7 million, and he has until June 29th to make his decision. On the surface, it is a simple choice. Opt in, stay a Warrior, ride it out with Steph for one more run. But underneath that simple choice is a volcano, because Draymond Green is not the same player he was. He is 36 years old, entering his age 37 season. He is 6'6", and last season he was getting asked to guard 7-footers because the roster had no other answer. The mileage is brutal, the body is breaking down, and the front office has noticed. Draymond himself has noticed. He even admitted it on national television. He sat on Inside the NBA and said something that should have been a warning shot to every Warriors fan watching. He said, "Success may not be, for us at this point, a championship." Read that again. The man who built his entire identity on winning rings just lowered the bar in public. And that was before everything blew up. Because here is what happened. About a week ago, the dam broke. And it broke in the most public, most humiliating way possible. Draymond Green went on a podcast, his own platform, where he has no filter and no PR handler telling him to soften it. And a question came up about the trade deadline, about whether he had really been shopped. And for a moment, Draymond went quiet, and then he did something he had never done before. He confirmed it. He said, and I want you to feel the weight of this, he said the organization he gave everything to had been ready to ship me out like I was nothing. And then he said the line that detonated across the entire NBA. He said, "I found out from somebody outside this building that my own team was trying to get rid of me. Think about that. After everything, after 4 rings, I had to hear it from a stranger." The clip went everywhere. Within an hour, it was the #1 trending topic in American sports. And what made it so devastating was the silence that followed from everyone else. Because in the hours after Draymond spoke, the Warriors said nothing. No statement, no denial this time. No, we love Draymond, this is a misunderstanding. Just silence. And in this league, silence is the loudest confession there is. The players noticed. The locker room noticed. Sources started whispering that the younger Warriors, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, the guys who grew up idolizing this dynasty, were shaken. Because if the franchise could do this to Draymond Green, the most decorated, most loyal, most irreplaceable culture setter they had, then no one was safe. The thing that made Golden State special, the thing every free agent wanted to be part of, was the feeling that this organization protected its own. And in one quiet trade deadline decision, that feeling died. The brand was the family, and the family had just shown the entire league that even legends are for sale. And the next morning, ESPN's First Take did not even bother with their usual format. Stephen A. Smith walked onto that set, sat down, and unloaded. He said the Golden State Warriors had committed an unforgivable sin. He said you do not treat a franchise legend like inventory. And then he turned up the heat to a level that even by his standards was extraordinary. He pointed at the camera and he said, "Draymond Green is the reason that dynasty exists. Steph Curry is the face, but Draymond is the heartbeat. And this organization, this front office, looked at the heartbeat of their dynasty and said, you're expendable. That is a betrayal of the highest order, and if I'm Draymond Green, I never forgive it. Never." The set went silent, and somewhere in the Bay Area, Draymond Green was watching, and the wound was getting deeper by the hour. But here's what makes this so much more than a story about an aging player and a cold front office. Because the Warriors are not just any team, they are a family. That was the whole brand. For more than a decade, the thing that separated Golden State from everyone else was not just the shooting or the ball movement. It was the love. Steph and Draymond and Klay, brothers for life, the closest core in basketball. And even after Klay left, even after Bob Myers walked away, the bond between Curry and Green was supposed to be the one thing that could never break. Steve Kerr came back this offseason and made it known in meetings that he wanted both Curry and Green to be part of the immediate plans. He fought for Draymond. The reports were clear. If Kerr had not returned, the chances of trading Green would have been much higher. So Kerr was in Draymond's corner. But here is the thing about a front office. The coach does not have the final say. The coach can want something all he wants. The man who actually pulls the trigger on a trade is the general manager, and the man who has to bless that trade, the man whose voice matters more than anyone's in that building, well, we will get to him, because that is the open loop. That is the name on the document. Let me paint you the full picture of how trapped this franchise is, because it explains everything. The Warriors are old. Curry is 38, about to turn 39. Draymond is 36. And Jimmy Butler, the third star they traded for, the guy who was supposed to extend this window, he is 36 and recovering from a torn ACL. A torn ACL. He is going to miss a huge chunk of next season, and nobody knows what kind of player he will be when he comes back. Kristaps Porzingis appeared in 15 games and is an unrestricted free agent. The roster is held together with tape and prayers, and financially, the Warriors are in a vice. They are pressed up against the first apron, the luxury tax is breathing down their neck, and the only real trade pieces they have are Draymond's $27 million option and Jimmy Butler's expiring $56 million deal. So if the Warriors want to make a move, if they want to chase one more star to give Steph one last shot at glory, somebody has to go. And the math, the cold, brutal math, keeps pointing at the same man, Draymond Green, and there were targets, big ones. The Warriors have been linked all offseason to Giannis Antetokounmpo, to Kawhi Leonard, and this is the one that should make every Warriors fan sit up, to LeBron James. There are real reports that Stephen Curry himself has been trying to recruit LeBron to Golden State. Imagine that. Imagine Steph picking up the phone and calling the greatest player of his generation and saying, "Come win with me." It sounds like a dream, a Curry and LeBron super team for one final ride. But every dream has a cost, and the cost of bringing in a star like LeBron, the cost of clearing the money and the roster spot, the cost of making that fantasy real was Draymond Green. To bring LeBron in, Draymond almost certainly has to go out, and that right there is the knife in the heart, because it means the recruitment of LeBron and the betrayal of Draymond were never two separate stories. They were the same story, and Draymond sitting at home doing the math figured that out. So now the question becomes deafening. If Steve Kerr was fighting to keep Draymond, if the coach genuinely wanted him to stay, then who was on the other side? Who was pushing to move him? Who looked at the heartbeat of the dynasty and decided he was the price worth paying for one more swing at a title? The obvious answer is Mike Dunleavy, the general manager, the guy whose job it is to make the hard calls. And that is exactly the answer the Warriors wanted you to land on. Because a general manager is replaceable, a general manager can take the heat. A general manager being the villain is a story that goes away, but that is not the whole truth. And the whole truth is so much more painful. Here is where the leak comes in, because a story like this never stays buried. Somebody always talks. And in the days after Draymond's podcast detonated, a detail slipped out from inside the organization, the kind of detail that only comes from someone who was in the room. According to a report that surfaced quietly and then exploded, the decision to make Draymond Green available at the deadline was not Dunleavy acting alone. It was not the general manager going rogue. It was a decision that had been run by the franchise's most important voice. The one person whose blessing is required for any move of that magnitude. The person whose relationship with Draymond was supposed to be sacred. And when that detail hit, the entire Warriors fanbase felt the floor drop out from under them because they finally understood what Draymond had been hinting at all along. They understood why he was so hurt. They understood why this was different from every other trade rumor. Now hold on, because before I tell you whose name is on that document, and I promise you it is coming, I need you to understand why this matters so much. In the NBA, a franchise player has veto power he never has to use out loud. When you are the face of a dynasty, when the entire organization exists because of you, the front office does not move without checking with you first. They float ideas past you. They ask quietly in private, "What do you think about this?" And your answer shapes everything. A franchise player can kill a trade with a single word. He can save a teammate with a single sentence. Or he can stay silent. He can let it happen. He can decide that the chase for one more ring is worth more than the brotherhood, and he can let the front office do the dirty work while he keeps his hands clean and his image spotless. And here is the thing about Draymond Green. He knows exactly how that machine works. He has been inside it for 13 years. So when he said he found out his own team was trying to trade him, what he was really asking, what was eating him alive, was a much harder question. Not, did the front office betray me, but did he let it happen? And that brings us all the way back to the beginning, to the open loop I promised you, the piece of paper, the name, the signature, or the absence of one. Because the report that surfaced, the one that broke the Bay Area's heart, contained one devastating implication. When the Warriors made Draymond Green available at the trade deadline, the decision was not vetoed. Nobody in that inner circle stood up and said, "Absolutely not. He stays. End of discussion." And the one person who could have ended it with a single word, the one person whose veto would have been final, instant, and unquestionable, was Stephen Curry. Steph, the brother, the other half of the most iconic duo in modern basketball. The man Draymond has protected, defended, and gone to war for 1,000 times. The report suggested that when the front office quietly explored moving Draymond to chase a bigger star, Curry, focused on his own narrowing championship window, aware that he is 38 and running out of time, did not shut it down. He did not fight for it the way Draymond would have fought for him. He left the door open, and that silence, that absence of a veto, was the signature on the document. That was the name. Now I want to be careful here because Steph Curry has earned the benefit of the doubt over an entire career of loyalty and grace. Maybe he wrestled with it. Maybe it tore him up inside. Maybe he convinced himself that giving the franchise flexibility was the right thing to do for everyone, even Draymond, but intentions do not matter when the wound is this deep. What matters is that Draymond Green now believes, rightly or wrongly, that when the moment came, the brother he trusted most chose the chase over the bond. And you cannot unring that bell. You cannot tell a man who gave you 4 championships that he was almost shipped out like nothing, and then expect him to opt into one more year and smile like everything is fine. So here is where the Warriors stand right now on the edge of June 29th. Draymond Green has a decision to make, and it is no longer just about basketball. He can opt in and stay, knowing what he now knows, swallowing the betrayal for one last run. He can opt out and force the issue, daring the franchise to prove they value him. Or he can do the thing that would shatter the dynasty forever. Walk away from the only NBA home he has ever known, from the brother he is no longer sure has his back, and let the Warriors live with the consequences. And whatever he decides, the relationship that built 4 championships will never be the same. The crack that started at the trade deadline has become a canyon, and the worst part, everyone saw it coming. Kerr knew, Dunleavy knew, Curry knew, they all knew the bond was fracturing, and they all said nothing, and they let Draymond find out from a stranger. The Golden State dynasty was built on a lie that became true through sheer will. The idea that this group loved each other enough to win it all. And now, in the twilight of it all, with Curry chasing one last ring and the front office chasing one last star, that love is being tested in the cruelest way possible. Draymond Green gave this franchise everything. He gave them his body. He gave them his prime. He gave them a defensive identity that no amount of money could ever buy. He took every villain role this league handed him so that Steph could stay the hero. He absorbed the suspensions, the technicals, the headlines, the hatred, all of it, so the dynasty could keep its golden image clean. And in return, they made him available. They denied it, and then they let him discover that the one man who could have saved him chose not to.